on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot. Hey, yo, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Yo, Wolfface, I'm your worst nightmare. That's
Oh
my
God.
best Stallone impression. What do you think?
That was pretty good.
Okay, cool.
If
How's
I
it
was
going?
a wolf, I'd be terrified.
How's it going, Dylan?
It's going very well.
It's going very well. Great.
How are-
Excellent.
How are you, Heather?
I'm feeling fancy today.
Ooh, don't
See
let
it?
me down, girl.
I have on my fancy Crocs while we record.
You get out there and work them old men, get this rent paid.
My fancy pajama pants. I'm ready.
All right, so here we are back at the Mountain Murder Studio.
We're back in the studio.
Back
yes.
in the studio. We're back at it.
Back in the saddle again.
I was just flipping through my Googleizer this morning, and I found this hilarious. I think it's a hilarious, yet terrible article.
Well, we have a dark sense of humor, so I can see where there's a sick element of comedy to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cruise line apologizes after dozens of whales slaughtered in front of passengers. This is coming from out of London. A cruise line has apologized to over 1,000 of its passengers after one of its ships arrived at port in the middle of a whale hunt where dozens of marine mammals were being slaughtered. And I'll save you the full me messing up the entire article by trying to read it. Basically, cruise ship with about 1,000 passengers rolls into port, and I showed Heather the pictures. You got to look this up. The entire port is blood. It's a port of blood. And I could just see the kids and like parents just screaming for, they're all out there on the rail watching coming into port, and they come in the middle of the culmination of a very large whale hunt.
It's like something out of a Farley Brothers movie.
Yeah, and it was a small island up around Scotland.
Okay.
Yes, but of course the people there are like, hey, this is our culture. We've been doing this for 1,000 years. I don't know what to tell you.
Look, it kicks up our skirts.
They said it's sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And they apologize. I wonder if they're going to give them free drink tickets. Like, here, free drinks for everybody, including the kids.
Yeah.
Look away, Timmy. Look away.
Oh, here, by the way, is a Valium and another sedative for your children as well after they were traumatized by the whale hunt.
I would have been traumatized.
Dylan, we have a few Mountain Murders announcements to make. Now that you have sufficiently blood-soaked the beginning of our show, the intro of our show with a terrible tale.
Okay.
A terrible tale of whales. We want to give a big shout-out to our newest patron, Kimberly.
Kimberly is the host of today's episode.
She's the host of it. She's sponsoring today's episode, Dylan. But yes, I'm sure she's going to channel through you. And so anything that you say, we will just blame it on Kimberly.
It's going to be Kimberly's fault.
We know Kimberly. She's a great person. We really enjoy Kim, and I'm so happy she signed up to be part of our Patreon family.
I've touched Kimberly before. Hugged her. She's a close friend.
I'm sure you have.
I have. It's true.
Dylan, he will reach out and touch everyone,
Wow.
even if they don't consent, because he's a little creepy.
No.
We have established many times.
No, ma'am. You retract that. I do always ask for consent, or I can hash out the consent after the thing started if it seems uncomfortable. I'm like, did you give me consent? So yeah, to be clear, consent matters to me. I'm not our dog.
People think you're creepy.
He doesn't need any consent.
We've talked about this a lot, Dylan. People think you're creepy. It's okay, bud. That's just your vibe. You're the creepy guy in the weird shirts.
Thanks. You made it so much better. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Like, example of Dylan being creepy, we take his 4-year-old granddaughter to the swimming pool the other day, public pool, and Dylan's wearing a Hoochie Hut hat.
Oh. Well, actually, I forgot.
Which the Hoochie Hut is a fake strip club that does not exist in our town. And he's wearing the Hoochie Hut hat, and it's got a lady draped on a pole on the hat, and he's wearing this at the kiddie pool. And then he says to me, oh, I'm not creepy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
You're a little creepy, Dylan.
No, when I looked up and realized I had the hoochie hat on, I said, oh my gosh. And I took it off and I flipped it over and I put it away. So, again.
Yeah, after a bunch of toddlers started running around saying hoochie.
Hey, I support young women dancing their way through college. Okay? I support it every day.
I bet you do.
All
That's
right.
fine. No shame in the game, but I'm just saying.
All right. So
Another big announcement for us, Dylan, Mountain Murders podcast has joined the Dark Cast Network.
oh my
Are
gosh.
you super jazzed?
I'm so stoked.
Oh, man. Dark Cast Network, they are an amazing group of, I'm telling you, some of the best indie podcasts you are going to find. And all of these indie podcasts are spooky. They're creepy.
Paranormal.
But they're not creepy like Dylan. They're creepy like in a good way. Like paranormal, ghostly, just dark true crime. Oh, man. We've got the Thin Blue Line Show, mythical true crime. The Crime Viking is part of the network. Castles and Cryptids. The Paranormal Peeps podcast. A Hateful Homicide. Scottish Murders. All Hallows Eve podcast, Disturbing Interests podcast.
Ooh.
They cover horrible histories and terrible mysteries. Now, doesn't that sound fun?
Now, what I love about this, for one, being part of a really interesting, vibrant network of indie podcasts, that's very exciting for us. But me and Heather were just discussing we need more podcasts. We need new ones.
We do.
And now here we've found a whole family of very interesting, down our alley podcasts.
Fuck that, a true crime podcast. I mean, we say fuck a lot, Dylan, so fuck that is probably a podcast for us. Weird true crime. We always love the weird shit. Rogue Darkness podcast. The Creepy Tapas. You get a tiny taste of terror.
Okay, I like that.
Burnt Marshmallows podcast, The Calls of Crime, another true crime pod. I mean, there are so many here. Beyond the Rainbow, which is true crime cases of the LGBT community. And we also have Beyond the Rainbow sharing the most excellent podcast calendar that we were part of this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, were they not on the calendar we were a part of?
Absolutely. CJ was on the calendar with us, Dylan. So many things. Malice After Midnight, and then they were gone. California True Crime, Horrifying History, you name it. We have got something for everyone on the Dark Cast Network. And then, of course, Mountain Murders. I'm very excited that we are joining this amazing group of indie podcasters.
I can't wait.
And the cool thing is, too, each week, Dylan, they have the Dark Cast show that will actually kind of feature it's called the Spotlight on Darkcast, and they feature a weekly show. So if you want to find that, you can listen to all of the podcasts to get a taste of their best episodes and maybe find something new you want to listen to. So check it out.
Yes, they also offer roadside assistance.
Yeah.
So if I have a flat tire now, the Darkcast Network is going to come out and hook me up.
They are. They're going to fly on like a magic carpet.
Yeah.
Or they're going to send like a big raven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big raven who's highly skilled at changing tires on the side of the road.
Yes, Dylan will be standing
my
there and
God.
it'll swoop in and you'll be like, great Odin's raven. And the next thing you know, it's got using its big wings to like pump up the jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, my name's Harvey. I'm here to change your tire.
Yeah.
Let's get a move on. I got a sedan down the road I need to take care of.
Exactly. See, so
All
it's
right.
perfect for us.
Harvey the Raven.
Dylan, enough of this nonsense. Are you ready to talk about today's case?
I am.
It is a salacious story filled with wealth, power, privilege, and mystery.
Oh, wow. You're telling my life story. This is a song of my people.
Exactly. Wealth, power, and privilege.
Wealth, power, and privilege.
Yes, Dylan, your people. Sure. I don't know why you don't have any of that wealth and power and privilege.
Well, that's because it's not really my people. That was the joke.
Yeah, I know. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Sasha Michaelides was found on the lawn at Staunton Hill Castle in the early afternoon of November 7th, 1975, with a bullet wound in her right temple. The shot was fired from a .22 caliber target pistol that Mr. Michaelides, the heiress's new husband, freely admitted was his.
All right.
Are you captivated yet?
Yeah, I'm like, damn, all you had to do was say, found dead on the ground. Yeah.
Alexandra Sasha Bruce was born to Ambassador David Kirkpatrick Estes Bruce and his wife, socialite and writer Evangeline Bruce. Sasha was born May 1st of 1946 in Washington, D.C. The Bruce family was known for wealth and powerful political ties dating back to the American Revolution.
Wow.
So this is a old school family talking about American Revolution days.
America.
Some of the earliest settlers in this country and have always had these strong political ties. So we're talking wealth, power, privilege, Dylan.
Okay, I see where you got that lead in.
David was the son of United States Senator William Cabell Bruce. William Bruce was an accomplished lawyer who was also a celebrated writer. In 1918, he won a Pulitzer Prize for his book Benjamin Franklin, Self-Revealed. David had big shoes to fill. He attended Princeton University up until World War I began, and then after military service, he was elected to the Maryland State Legislature by 1924. On May 23rd of 1926, David, a scion of prominent Virginia family, married Elsa Mellon, the only daughter of Andrew Mellon. Now, if you know anything about history of the United States, industrialists, talking real wealth and privilege, then you've likely heard the name Andrew Mellon.
Yes, the titans of industry.
He was a former United States Secretary of the Treasury and also a banker, industrialist, art collector, politician, and philanthropist.
Damn. Okay. So he does all the things.
He does all the things. And the Mellon family, I mean, you've heard of Carnegie Mellon University. They were Pittsburgh, wealthy Pittsburgh family, lots of money, have dedicated lots of time and energy to philanthropy, organizations, charitable trusts, and have donated lots to museums. As a matter of fact, I believe Andrew Mellon donated a lot of his art collection and was very responsible for getting the National Gallery of Art started in Washington, D.C. with his personal art collection.
Damn. So not only is he a philanthropist, because a lot of times people are like, well, they do that to look good or, write it off on taxes. He's actually an art enthusiast as well.
Yeah.
So he has a passion for it, and it's something that I think he was genuine in supporting because he would like to obviously see it thrive and grow.
Their wedding, which was attended by President and Mrs. Coolidge, and a honeymoon were followed closely by the news media. So at the time, the Bruce family, these wealthy socialites, were almost like today's celebrities. Like they've got paparazzi following them. People are kind of enamored, like, oh, they're almost like American nobility or something.
I could see that. That would make sense. Back in the day, they were kind of the, kind of rock stars of the area. Everyone knew who they were. You recognized them when they went. You saw them out. Likely, they may travel with some type of an entourage.
Well, though David Bruce was from a prominent family, he didn't have Andrew Mellon wealth. Like, if he was considered rich, he did not have the kind of wealth that the Mellon family had.
Well, there's a difference between rich and wealth.
Yeah. Now, as a wedding gift, it is reported that Mr. Mellon awarded his new son-in-law, David Bruce, with $1 million, quote, so he wouldn't have to pull at his wife's purse strings.
Oh, my gosh. I want a father-in-law. Why has my father-in-law not done any of that?
Because your father-in-law is too busy complaining about how broke he is, Dylan.
Damn it. I knew I should have married
While
that.
doling out financial advice to the rest of us.
I know I should have married that old melon gal back in the day.
In 1933, after 7 years of marriage, Elsa gave birth to her only child. Audrey Sheila Bruce was born in 1934, and she went on to marry Stephen Richard Currier. And they have an odd story, Dylan. Audrey and Stephen went missing during a flight in the Caribbean in January of 1967 and were never recovered. So they literally went down in what is considered the Bermuda Triangle and were never seen or heard from again.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I hear stories all the time about the Bermuda Triangle. You grew up thinking that it was just like this big thing, right?
Yeah.
And these are people who are actually impacted by the Bermuda Triangle, whatever is happening in the triangle.
I think it's some kind of large magnetic anomaly that messes up airplane and ship instruments.
You know what I think it is?
What?
Aliens.
You think it's some portal into like
Maybe
another
Earth.
Middle Earth? You think
Maybe.
that's how they got in there?
Maybe.
You think those people in the Titan sub made it
Yeah.
to the aliens
Yeah.
and they're gone?
Yeah.
They didn't die.
Yeah.
They made it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so they were founders of the Taconic Foundation, which was a charitable giving organization that was instrumental in the formation of the Council for United Civil Rights Leadership. So as you can see, the Mellon family, the Bruce family, I mean, they are big advocates of public service
Well, I must say
and charitable work.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing, honestly. I think I'm sure there's some people truly genuine, want to help and all that, but it's refreshing to hear a story, even though it's way back then, of a family. They seem to be genuine with their philanthropy and their help, like they want to do something good with their wealth.
Elsa obtained a divorce from David Bruce in Palm Beach, Florida in April of 1945 on the grounds of desertion and mental cruelty, and she received sole custody of their 11-year-old daughter, Audrey, at the time. So in 1942, Evangeline was working for the Office of Strategic Services when she met David. Now, the Office of Strategic Services is like the predecessor of the CIA.
Okay.
3 days after his divorce was granted, David married Evangeline on April 23rd of 1945 in Boston. Together, they would live internationally, even having an apartment in France that was owned by French royalty.
Okay.
French nobility, if you will.
I once had a single wide that had been lived in by the sheriff of the county.
You did?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Well, I'm just as close as I got to what they got there.
Now, David served in both the Maryland and Virginia House of Delegates. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Army Air Corps during World War II. He joined the Office of Strategic Services. Again, this is the predecessor of the CIA, and was administrative head of the London base of the OSS.
The OSS. I see why they changed the acronym there. 'Cause that sounds kind of ominous.
He was appointed ambassador to France, serving from 1949 to 1952, before becoming appointed undersecretary of the state by President Harry S. Truman. He served as ambassador to West Germany from 1957 to 1959, ambassador to Great Britain from 1961 to 1969. He was first United States emissary to China from 73 to 74. He was actually one of the first Americans into Peking at the time when Nixon was trying to open up, the doors to China, if you will.
Yeah, thanks, Nixon.
And he was also a NATO ambassador from 75 to 76. He also headed the American delegation to Paris peace talks with North Vietnam in 1970 and 71. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Gerald Ford in 1976. So as you can see, David Bruce has quite the resume, Dylan.
I see.
And we're, of course, talking about his daughter, Alexandra, but I wanted to give you a little background information on her family before we get into the meat of the story, Dylan.
So here you have a well-known family, very wealthy, have connections, politically connected. So yeah, how can this go wrong?
Before we get really into the story, we have another little sidebar we got to talk about here, and that is Staunton Hill.
Well, with a name like that, why wouldn't we discuss them?
Built in 1848 by Charles Bruce, who was known as a planter and also, just a state senator. The 14-room mansion was styled after the family's ancestral home in Scotland. It cost $75,000 for the nearly 300-acre property and home. The home had belonged to Audrey, and her father purchased it back in 1961 from her for $100,000. So David Bruce, somehow it had been gifted to his daughter. He buys it back from her for $100,000. So then it's in his, back in his family, back in his care again. David Bruce rarely visited the country estate, which was located in Brookneal, Virginia. It housed rare books, antiques, and at the time was sitting on about 273 acres. But there were no more horses or hunting dogs like in the past. So David Bruce really didn't visit the property, and it just sort of sat empty, just the family's country estate. No big deal, right?
Yeah, it's just our country estate. We don't even use because we got so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he's in foreign service. He's overseas. He doesn't have a lot of time to visit the place. And it doesn't seem like he's that interested in it. In January of 1974, David Bruce sold the property to his 3 remaining children, Sasha and her 2 brothers, for $100,000. So they split it among themselves. Though Sasha Bruce was born into a life of wealth and privilege, things were not always rosy for the young woman. I mean, this is really kind of that cliched story of poor little rich girl.
Okay.
David and Evangeline were a more traditional couple who slept in separate bedrooms.
That's very traditional.
The children were shipped off to boarding schools, with Sasha attending St. Timothy's in Baltimore, Maryland. The Bruces were so busy tending to their schedules that they often didn't have time for their children, even when the kids were home from school breaks or, there for the summer to visit. Their parents didn't really have time to spend with the kids. They were just sort of an afterthought, it seemed like.
Now, would you want to sleep in a separate bedroom than me?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So if we had
Yes.
like these extra rooms.
We do have extra rooms.
Well, yeah. So you would go sleep in another room.
Look, when you're snoring
Mm-hmm.
and it's so loud I can hear you like down the hallway,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And when you sprawl out like a starfish in the bed
What?
and give me a tiny bit of room.
A big Niller starfish?
And then some of those times when you are like fidgety in your sleep and you like haul off and punch me
Okay.
in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would then.
Like in the side of the head. And I'm like, what the fuck? And like wake you up and you're like, what? And you just go back to sleep. And then the next day I'm like, yeah, thanks for the fucking black eye, bro. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I wonder, are you doing that on purpose? Or
Am
are
I
you really
asleep?
completely out of it? Like you clean.
I don't remember that. I would never hit you awake. Ever. Okay? I'll fight a bitch in my dreams, though.
You will?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Because, she
just
could be a
saying.
monster.
I'm just saying.
So those seem like valid reasons to maybe sleep in another room. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you were on shift work.
Whoa, hey.
That 4:00 a.m. wake up call that was always so nice in my fucking ear as you hit snooze like 30 times before you get out of bed.
I would start my
That
alarm.
is the most annoying. One of the most annoying things I have to say is if you have a partner that sleeps, y'all have like a bit of a different sleep schedule, and that person has an alarm clock that goes off at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and they hit snooze repeatedly.
Right.
So like every 5 minutes, you've got like a rooster crowing because that's their
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, that's their ringtone or whatever.
Get up, bitch.
Jeez.
So it took me a minute to get awake. I'm not one of those one alarm jump straight up people. So my alarms would start at 3:10, and so
and would run until about 4:30.
and no, that'd be too late. But come
No.
about 4:05, 4:10, I'm pushing it. I have to get up now, and that's when I get up.
Thank you.
And I apologize
No, you don't.
to you. I am sorry for all the things you just listed, and she left out when I'm extra sexy and she can't control herself around me. She may want to sleep in another room because she knows that she's.
Are you sure?
She's gonna give
that-
it up, dude.
Is this me?
She can't help it.
Are you confusing me with like another wife you
Oh,
have
no.
somewhere?
No.
Okay. So as a teenager, Sasha didn't really care about academics. She was considered moody, as teenagers often are, but she turned to drugs, just experimenting. I mean, we have to consider, though, she was a teenager, like, during the 60s, when I think a lot of young people were experimenting with drugs.
From a wealthy family.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was gaining a reputation for her sexual promiscuity. She attended Radcliffe University, and it seems at Radcliffe she kind of came, I want to say maybe more comfortable with herself, or she kind of came into herself, if that makes sense. She studied art history, which was something she was very passionate about. She started taking her studies more seriously. Sasha went on archaeological digs in New Mexico, Turkey, and Israel, which she found very meaningful. She seemed to really enjoy these archaeological digs and sort of being part of something kind of bigger than herself, if that makes sense.
I would be assuming the entire time I'm on an archaeological dig, especially if it's in the desert or something, that we're about to uncase like a Syrian demon or like a Sumerian demon or something or we're about to release something that's not supposed to be free.
You've seen The Omen and The Exorcist.
Not every
I think,
movie, every movie.
too many times.
Yeah, and yeah, just like Indiana Jones, I'd be expecting it to be the Ark of the Covenant. When they're messing with it, I'd be like, you guys better not open that.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So friends at Radcliffe say Sasha did suffer from bouts of depression and continued to experimenting with drugs. Sasha continued having casual sexual relationships, and her friends reportedly said she seemed to seek out married men. It was almost like she was a masochist, or she would get involved in these relationships that she knew didn't really have a chance, and that these men were like emotionally unavailable.
Well, maybe that's what she wanted.
Well, some have suggested that perhaps it was because she had grown up with a very absent father, and she never quite got the love and affection she needed from her dad, and that this was part of her quote unquote daddy issues, was sort of seeking men like her dad that were not available to her.
So she was dating other people's daddies.
Maybe.
Well, hey. Yeah.
I'm married to somebody's granddaddy. What does it say about me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a gilf.
Ooh, baby.
You better believe
Now,
it.
during this time, Sasha volunteered at the Lyman School for Boys, where she enjoyed being around the children and feeling like she was giving back. A lot of these were troubled kids, underprivileged children, and so she really felt like she was, out here doing the Lord's work. Her family firmly rooted in the idea that public service had ethical and social value. So we can see Sasha is, in some ways, trying to carry on this family ideal. After graduating magna cum laude and doing social work, Sasha moved to London, where she ended up making some questionable decisions. And from what I gather, Dylan, she moved to London because that is where her parents were at the time, doing their foreign service.
I see.
Right? So in England, Sasha met a man who claimed to be an Austrian count.
Oh, yeah, that's always true. That's always true when someone claims to be a count or a Dutch or a duchess.
Anton von Kassel was an art dealer who sold religious artifacts.
Can I have these names in this story?
Yeah,
I want to be Dylan McFrudgeon-Pudge or some stuff. I don't know.
How about Dylan McFartlander?
Okay. Fartlander.
I was playing
sorry.
a game last night, and my character's last name was Fartlander, and I thought that was hilarious.
I like Fartlander.
That's a good one, right?
I'm going to use that one.
Okay. So he's an art dealer who sells quote-unquote religious artifacts, whatever that means.
Stolen.
So, well,
I mean,
we're going to get to that.
yeah.
Sasha immediately began lavishing and just totally spoiling her new lover, purchasing him expensive cars and even setting him up in business by opening an art gallery for him. She is funding everything.
I want a girlfriend like this.
For this Austrian count. Sasha also opened a gallery of her own next door. Sasha was aware of her boyfriend's fraudulent art dealings.
She was?
She was aware that he was selling stolen items and also just reproduction items. They were fakes.
So she opened up his and her galleries beside each other.
Yeah.
Now that's when your girlfriend's got some loot.
And she's paying for everything. She is footing the bill for their lavish lifestyle, cars, Mercedes, Jaguar, Rolls Royces.
Jaguars.
These, big, brownstones and flats in London and
brownstones,
trips and just
flats,
paying for his tailored suits and his
not from Savile Row,
his silk cravats.
What's that? What's a silk cravat?
Like a necktie.
Oh,
Like
okay.
a scarf, like a neck dressing, and it's an accessory, Dylan.
Is this would this be akin to an ascot?
Yeah, maybe.
It's the ascot's little cousin.
You could say that too.
Little unknown
Look,
brother.
it's just a fancy way of saying she got him a damn silk necktie or something. Okay, leave me alone.
When you should just said that. You sound so fancy.
She even had him little custom chapeaus made for to adorn the top of his head.
Okay.
Now, according to friends, money seemed to be no object. So while Sasha is living in London, she is just spending. She's making it rain. Like if Von Castle is twerking,
she got one of those guns.
she's got a gun just shooting like money
twos
on
at
him.
him,
Yeah,
bud.
she's just shooting like Rolls Royces at his little, his little twerky butt.
Oh my gosh,
So-
she's making it rain like cars and businesses and shit
Why?
on this
I want
dude.
to find somebody who has this kind of wealth and will make it rain upon me.
I can finance. Okay, I can finance. Here's where I'm at with my wealth.
You will finance me a hot dog
No.
at the hotspot gas station later?
Well, no, actually, that's a really great idea. We should go get one of those.
Yeah, I know.
Shit, I hope that chili's been there like 4 days at least, because that's
Yeah,
when it's good.
That is when it's good.
So no, but look, I will finance. Okay, and your little buddy just had a birthday. I will finance a day for you guys at one of the local breweries. Okay, and you can have anything you want off, not the entrees, but the appetizer lit menu.
Okay.
Anything, one item, because you can share appetizer.
Okay.
And at least 2 beers
So
or
you're
ciders.
gonna give me like
a piece.
You're gonna give me $30
$35.
to finance like the best day ever.
At least we can go as high as 40, but at that time you do need to check with me if it gets up near 40.
Okay, I'll let my friend know that you're
Okay.
big baller money bags.
Well, this is me lavishing the best that I can, trying to finance, and I bought his and her packs of Marlboro Lights. I know that you don't smoke. Okay,
It's
but
romantic. It's a
it
romantic
is.
gesture.
And I may even draw some little doodles on yours. And of course, obviously, later on when I run out of mine, I'm going to smoke yours
You're
because you
gonna
don't need
put a
them.
little poem down in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Behind the Surgeon General's warning about lung
Yeah.
cancer. Oh,
That was very rambly and unnecessary, but let's get back to the story. So while in London, Sasha's behavior became kind of more isolated. She dropped off from friends, quit communicating with people, lost touch. It's almost like she was cocooning herself. Like once she got involved with this guy and she's spending all this money, she becomes more withdrawn and isolated.
okay. Well, I have concerns about that, but continue.
She began receiving mail under a fake name and just was like living more privately than before.
Okay.
Sasha's relationship with her mother, Evangeline, was always described as cool and distant, but they grew even more estranged over time. And by 1972, Evangeline had written friends confiding that she was disappointed with the direction that Sasha's life was going. She felt like her daughter was sort of wasting talent.
Spinning her wheels, dude.
She's spinning her wheels. She's got terrible taste in men. She keeps getting involved with the wrong man. I mean, her mother would have preferred she settle down with a young man from a good family.
The Count of Monte Cristo, somebody with an established namesake.
Yeah, I really like his breakfast sandwich, the Monte Cristo.
Okay.
Now, Sasha was burning through her trust fund in London, and eventually she would run back to the United States when creditors came calling. Her boyfriend Von Castle's criminal exploits and shady business practices finally catching up to him.
Oh, my God. So she's ripped through all this money. They have this big chunk of money set aside so she can live her life, do what she wants. And she's used it all up. Now she has this kind of shady, sketchy boyfriend. And she knew that he was up to no good, but she continued to, help him facilitate that, I'm sure. And so now the chickens have come home to roost.
Yes. Sasha was escaping huge debts that she hoped would not follow her back home to the United States. After 4 years, Von Castle had ruined her financially, then left her for another woman. Isn't that how it goes?
So he used her up.
He done run off with her van and her sister.
Like, and I'm taking my gallery with me.
Never trust in fake Austrian count.
Well, yes, exactly. Oh, my God.
In 1974, Sasha and her brothers took over Staunton Hill. She moved back to the quiet Virginia countryside where she wanted to focus on a more simple life. In Brookneal, Virginia, Sasha enjoyed the anonymity of country living. Friends said Sasha didn't want to be known as David Bruce's daughter and really wanted to kind of make her own way in the world. She was interested in raising chickens and often sold eggs to the local merchants in Brookneal. A few friends in Brookneal said that Sasha seemed almost desperate for money at times. Quote, at times she acted as though she was almost broke. To make money, Sasha agreed to have 30 acres of timber harvested on the Staunton Hill property, which earned her about $6,000. An example of Sasha's money problems included a trip to Norfolk, Virginia in 1974 when she went to pick up some of her items that had been shipped from Europe. She could not afford to pay the $77 duty on an ornate robe, which had cost $250 in London. And so she didn't have the money to pay this tax on it. And because she couldn't pay, she agreed to let the item be auctioned off.
What the hell?
In spring of 1974, a guest arrived at Staunton Hill. He was a Greek businessman who claimed to be a raisin exporter named Marios Michaelides. And he was Sasha's new lover.
You damn right. We ship out them shriveled up grapes all the time.
Now, Sasha would tell friends she had met him at a wedding, but it turns out she had actually met him through her former lover, the Count von Kassel.
Ah, okay. So
Right.
she already knows this guy beforehand.
Yeah.
Knows of him.
And so, like with Von Kassel, Sasha bought expensive gifts and cars for Marios. Some friends described him as self-serving and brash, but Sasha seemed deeply in love with him. Others said he was just a nice guy. Michaelides talked about himself as if he was quite wealthy, often bragging about his various business exploits and deals. Sasha just seemed head over heels for him. One guest recalled at a dinner party hosted by Sasha at the estate how Marios made remarks about not liking the fried chicken and like almost causing a scene about it. The guest would later tell the press the story and recall that he thought Marios was, quote, a worm.
Well, yeah, dude. I mean, chill out, bro. If you don't like the chicken, don't freaking eat it. You know, who are you supposed to eat some raisins, right? You got all kinds of extra raisins. You surely.
He's got all kinds of extra raisins.
I mean, you know, all these. You tell me all these big stories about your ships full of raisins and shit. And you made some oatmeal cookies, and guess what, bud? Wasn't a fucking raisin one in it.
You know what?
Okay.
I bet you nobody at this dinner party appreciated that potato salad with them fucking raisins in it either. So, Mario, why don't you take that raisiny potato salad and shove it up your a-hole?
Oh, my God. He's the asshole who started that because I've never met anybody that puts raisins in potato salad.
I don't know either.
I don't think it's real.
I've never seen it. It's like a urban legend.
It's an urban cracker legend.
Yes, it's one of them honky legends. Now,
It's like that old spicy mayo.
the legend of the peckerwood. Now, other...
Is that a cryptid?
Have you heard of the cryptid? It's the Appalachian peckerwood. It's just like this really creepy, like scary white,
Dude in a wife beater?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, in the white tank top with a mustard thing.
He has.
I can't call it wife beater.
He doesn't have any teeth except for he's got fangs. He's
Yeah.
got two very prominent fangs that look like a walrus.
We're like, hold on, Jim. Hold on a second. Oh, shit. It's that goddamn peckerwood.
Hold on. Did you hear that? That sounds like a peckerwood. Woo!
Ew. Ew. I'm here to date your daughter. Oh, God, run. Woo! It's a peckerwood.
Okay, that was funny. That was
my God.
that was a comedy bit right there, Dylan.
That was
someone out there is offended because they're like, damn it, you just described my Uncle Larry and I don't appreciate you.
Well, we got to stay out of prison with that because that's actually a gang.
Uncle Larry?
The Woods.
Uncle Larry's
He's in the Peckerwoods.
Uncle Larry is a gang.
He's got a ride with his race.
Other friends thought it was odd that Sasha sometimes referred to Marios as, quote, an adored master.
Wow, an adored master.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And these friends also described him as being possessive. Sasha seemed happy to let him take control of things, like to just sort of step back and let him make all the decisions.
I do that with my wife. I let her take control of things.
Well, they say happy wife, happy life.
She thinks she's running shit, but I'm letting her run shit. So there's that.
Yeah, you're letting me because you're too damn lazy to do it yourself.
I mean, I can do it, but I don't see the point.
You ain't trying to adult.
You got it.
Never seen you doing adult things since I married you.
You got all that stuff on your magic phone. You just make everything go away, make everything happen for me.
Okay, now Sasha paid for flying lessons for Marios and had even discussed building a landing strip at the Staunton Hill estate where he could land a private plane.
I thought she was broke. Or I guess that's just the friends' impressions. We don't have anything to substantiate that. But maybe she just liked. Well, now see, she can't even pay for the duty fee on the robe.
Well, see, that's what's so strange.
Like 1 minute she seems almost broke.
Or does she still have some money?
And the next minute,
that's the thing. We never really have a clear picture of her financial. We don't have a snapshot of her portfolio, Dylan.
She's like, she just goes so over the top. She's like, oh, I heard you like to fly. Should I build you an airport? I mean, damn, girl. I mean, chill out a little bit. Spending that money on these guys who we're not even sure they're a character. You done been burnt multiple times.
It would be a lot cheaper for her, instead of building him a landing strip, to just pay an esthetician to get him a landing strip.
She should just shaved him a landing strip.
She could have just had him waxed.
Exactly.
Okay, so Sasha was interested in chickens and farming and wanted to turn Staunton Hill into a working poultry and cattle farm. She estimated it would cost about $1 million to bring the idea to fruition. Sasha and Marios visited Virginia Polytechnic and State University to seek experts on beef and poultry. By late 1974, the couple seemed to abandon the idea when Marios was turned down for a $125,000 bank loan to start the business. But I thought he was like Mr. Moneybags and a raisin exporter. Why does he need a loan?
Why is he even getting a loan?
Why is he turned down for a loan if he's like Mr. Man?
Why don't he go sell some of them crates of raisins?
Yeah.
I mean,
You
isn't that how you export?
You broke raisiny bitch.
It turns out he's just sending raisins randomly off on ships, but he's not sold them. He just exports them. He didn't say nothing about
Turns
selling
out
them.
he's a raisin exporter. He just has some California raisin toys from Hardee's from
Dude,
1986.
there's just ship after ship lost at sea of
I think
crates of
we
raisins.
can gather this guy's probably full of shit.
He's full of shit.
He's just like her ex. He's full of shit. Now, Michaelides was still married to his first wife, a teacher whom he had met in Athens, Greece back in 1971. They married in Knoxville, Tennessee. Sasha knew about his wife and often referred to her in letters to Michaelides. Mary Michaelides agreed to divorce her husband. Now, Mario explained that he met Sasha, fell in love with her, and that his wife understood
Oh, yeah.
and agreed to the divorce.
So he's one of the first polyamorous relationships, it sounds like.
Well, on July 25th of 1975, Marios Michaelides was granted a divorce in Haiti. His ex-wife, Mary, was now 2 months pregnant with their first child. 2 weeks later, Marios and Sasha were married in a civil ceremony.
Okay. That doesn't sound legal.
A quickie Haitian divorce. And 2 weeks later, he's going to marry Sasha Bruce. Yeah, well, there will be questions later about whether or not the divorce was actually legal.
Well, yeah, I would say so.
Yes. So they're married in a civil ceremony. The Bruces did not attend the wedding, and David Bruce was strongly opposed to the marriage. Yet he did not meddle in Sasha's, private affairs, and instead gifted the newlyweds with the family's heirloom silver that was stamped with the Bruce's family crest.
Okay. I just don't feel like these people's appreciating these gifts. I would appreciate them.
You know what? We would never eat with fancy silver. Are you kidding?
Well, no, I'm saying I would make sure I got the highest possible price for it when I sold it.
Following the wedding, Sasha became even more withdrawn. Friends say she became a bit more shyer than usual.
More shyer.
She became, a bit shyer than usual. And she quit taking calls from friends, began to almost further isolate. Even some of her friends in Brookneal, kind of like local folks that she had befriended, were seeing kind of less and less of her. On the morning of November 7th, 1975, Sasha phoned a friend to inquire about a cake recipe. She had invited her godmother and a friend to spend the weekend at Staunton Hill. Now, some folks were speculating whether maybe Sasha was like coming out of her shell, like if she'd maybe been in a funk. Inviting the godmother was her attempt at trying to get back to being more social, or if this was almost like her breaking free from Marios's clutches, as if he had tried to alienate her, and maybe this was her attempt to be like, fuck you, won't do what you tell me.
See, I'm curious because, you've described this before with her all of a sudden becoming less social, kind of, putting a wall around herself, if you will. And so I'm curious is this the controlling boyfriend, leading her down this path? Or is she, and I've known people like this, when they're with someone, their attentions are on that person and they just blow off friends.
See, that's exactly what my thoughts were, is that, yes, maybe she was being controlled, but maybe Sasha's one of those people that's almost like so codependent.
Right.
That everything revolves around her partner at the time.
Exactly.
Because I've known people like that as well, Dylan.
I've known people like that, and they always have to be with someone, too. They can't just be with themselves. Because if you got to love yourself first, folks. If you can't love yourself, how in the world could you love someone else?
Yeah, I had a friend like that. I mean, I honestly, there were like 4 months that went by that I didn't see her because she had a boyfriend.
Right.
And we kind of had words over it because I was like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, who does that shit?
Yeah, I'm not trying to, I don't care if you have a boyfriend or not. I thought we were friends.
Yeah,
right?
like, what the hell?
I mean, it's one thing if you're like talking shit about the boyfriend. They're like, well, I like this person. I'm just, not going to hang out with you. But it's another just to be like you can't interact with your boyfriend and like talk to me a couple times a week too. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, I didn't like him. He was really fucking weird, but whatever.
Oh. Well, fuck that guy,
Yeah, but it is really weird.
Yeah.
And it makes me just not want to be your
But
friend.
I think that might be part of her issue in the story is that's how she is.
Yeah, well, I think so because we've seen it multiple times.
Right.
Okay, so Sasha bakes this cake. She gets this recipe. She bakes the cake. She selects wines for the visit. The friend will later recall that, quote, women simply don't bake cakes when they're depressed.
You have to have love and joy in your heart or you're not going to be able to bake it, right? Am I right? I want a cake. Will you make me a cake?
Yeah, what do you want?
I don't know.
Would you like a nice homemade carrot cake?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I could make that one with that we made. What was it? Like a pineapple and coconut cake? That was good.
Hey, man, I'm telling you.
It's like a taste of summer.
Fat boy sitting here thinking about moist, delicious from scratch cakes.
I love baking. You know I'll bake you something.
Baby.
A few hours later, Sasha will be discovered lying between the pool and the main house under a towering fir tree. She had a gunshot wound to the right temporal lobe by the ear. Her husband admitted the gun belonged to him and that his wife had been depressed lately. Yet questions quickly arose from the Bruce family, even after the medical examiner ruled Sasha's death a suicide. She died 36 hours after being discovered in a hospital without regaining consciousness. Sasha was left-handed, so it didn't make sense to her family that she would shoot herself in the right side. Now, Dylan, we've seen this before.
Okay. Now let's talk about
these
it.
left-handed people who, off themselves, right? And then they somehow do it on the opposite side where they, normally if they're
They don't use their
left-handed, they're
dominant
not
hand.
typically going over
No.
to the right side. Yes.
No, to reach around across your body and get the gun over here, I would argue you might not even be able to pull the trigger at that angle, like your tendons won't work. I mean, I've seen that come up in some cases. Just such an odd angle that the bullet came in that the person literally could not do that themselves. And I've got to say, it just seems very like you're despondent, you're depressed, you're all the way down, feeling so terrible. I just think you're kind of going to be on autopilot at that point. If you do decide to self-harm or something, you're not thinking clearly. You're not making, really good decisions. And I just think you're going to naturally use your dominant hand. I mean, unless she was known to be ambidextrous, which is possible.
But it does not seem that was the case.
No, but
because
left-handed
her family
people can
is like,
be.
this doesn't
Right.
This doesn't make sense.
But no,
Not
you're
only
going to
that,
use your
but
dominant
she's
hand.
went through the process today of she's baked a cake, she's chosen wine, she's waiting for her godmother and a friend to arrive. What would spark all of a sudden she flips out and kills herself?
Well, I mean, it's not impossible. It's not, I mean, she could have been trying to, hey, I'm going to try to get myself out of this fucking, it just didn't work, and she could have been contemplating self-harm and these other things for a very long time. We don't know.
Well, I do think it raises questions and it leaves some doubt in my brain, Dylan.
Well, yeah. Well, when you have things planned, and the last time people saw you that you sounded happy about plans, you're looking forward to things. These are atypical behavior of people who intend to self-harm. Usually, they're usually very sad. They don't want to talk to anybody about it. They don't want to make plans with anybody about anything, and they're just kind of cocoon themselves off from everybody. So it does seem weird that she would make these plans.
Also, there were no spent cartridges found anywhere near Sasha's body.
Okay. And is the gun the type that would eject a shell?
Well,
I
it's a
assume.
22.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming that I'm no gun expert, but this was brought up
For that to be pointed out,
in
it must be an
multiple
auto. Yes.
resources that I read. A look into phone records had shown multiple phone calls between Staunton Hill and Mary Michaelides' address in Tennessee, especially in the days leading up to Sasha's death.
Oh my God! So this asshole's calling his other wife,
His baby mama.
Her baby mama. He's calling her from the home. More than likely. I
Like
doubt
multiple times a day.
leading up in the days leading up.
Now, the Bruce family paid Marios Michaelides, $200,000 to drop any claims to Sasha's estate, which he agreed to do. Yet once the family arrived at Staunton Hill to bury Sasha, because they had a very quiet funeral for her, they began to inventory the property, and they realized that Marios Michaelides had stolen valuable items from the home, including art, antiques, rare books, and the family silver that had been gifted to Sasha.
So he's basically ransacked the house and took all the most valuable stuff.
He's done looted the place, Dylan.
Well, that seems to be abnormal behavior if your woman's just killed herself.
David Bruce hired a private investigator named Downey Rice, who was a former FBI agent, to investigate his daughter's death. It was evidence that Rice discovered that was turned over to law enforcement and the district attorney. A grand jury was convened, and based on the information, an indictment was handed down charging Marios Michaelides with first-degree murder, bigamy, and embezzlement. By now, Marios had gotten back together with his ex-wife.
Of course he has.
Like days after Sasha has been buried, he's moved back in with Mary.
So someone's calling his baby mama in days leading up to her death, and then he gets directly back with her right after her death. Okay.
Now, Marios, the couple first lived in Tennessee. That is where Mary Michaelides was from. But they quickly moved to Alabama together. And by the time detectives tracked Mary Michaelides down in Alabama, they were able to discover a rented storage building. Now, other resources have described it as a warehouse that was rented by M. Michaelides, was on the lease, filled with the Bruce family's heirlooms, like a painting from artist Thomas Sully from the 1830s. The heirloom silver was found discarded in a Birmingham apartment that had been rented by Mary and Marios. Soon after, it was learned that Marios Michaelides had escaped back to his homeland of Greece. He was then joined by his wife Mary and their new baby. And we'll get into that more in a minute. Then books, rare books, antique books, began showing up in London for sale, bearing David Bruce's nameplate.
So, yeah, I mean, these are one-of-a-kind things. These people have their nameplates
First
and initials on everything.
copies
Leather-bound,
of books.
highly valuable, highly sought after. Even to this day, it's kind of had a resurgence on the rare book scene. Yeah, so this is, okay, so this guy's looking kind of like a scumbag.
A Jaguar was also located in Alabama. It was one that Sasha had purchased for Marios, but that he had totaled. And it was just left behind.
Oh, yeah.
Around $50,000 worth of rare books and antiques were sold, with profits going to Marios Michaelides. It was said that Sasha had been cataloging her father's book collection in the days before her death because Marios had wanted to sell the books.
So he's trying to talk her into it. Or he's like, oh, yeah, we got all this stuff. We should liquidate it.
Sasha had also changed her will on July 21st, about 4 days before her marriage to Marios, leaving him various possessions. She also changed her bank accounts and put all of her money into Marios' name. After Sasha's death, it was discovered that she had sold her portion of Staunton Hill to her brothers before she had died. But they waited 3 months later, once they had paid off Marios Michaelides to go away,
Right.
like his go away money, that her brothers filed this new deed on the property.
So well, I guess going through all the money may lead her to sell out to her brothers and get some money back from them. Or maybe she had some other plan. I don't know. That's kind of weird because it seems to me like she came there to kind of regroup her life. And she enjoyed, as you said, the anonymity of rural living. She doesn't have people in her face all the time. There's no, the gossip rags or the entertainment, whatever, of a, community carrying on about the socialite.
She doesn't have to do the socialite scene.
She can just live.
She's not hanging out with high society there.
She can just come outside and do her thing. She enjoyed the animals and stuff, even thought about returning it back into a working farm. and for her, and it just doesn't add up to me that she'd want to sell out her part. It seems like something she would want to, keep doing, keep a hold of, because she seemed to really like it. Staunton Hill, that is.
As more information surfaced about her financial status and her marriage to Marios, more witnesses started coming forward to describe Michaelides as a controlling and possibly physically abusive husband. At the time of her death, Sasha had bruises on her body, and when asked about those bruises, Marios Michaelides admitted that sometimes the couple's fights got physical. Months before the grand jury indictment came in on December 19th of 1977, a second exhumation and autopsy were performed. And by that time, Michaelides had already fled to Greece. He had fled in April. So on March 20th of 1976, Mary Michaelides delivered a baby girl. And again, she rejoined her husband in Greece immediately after the baby's birth. Though Greece could extradite to the United States, there would be a lot of red tape to get him there. Sometimes in cases like this, Greece or, in a country that has those extradition agreements with the United States might decide to indict and try their citizen like in a Greek courtroom.
Right.
So there was some talk that Greece might take the case and try him in their courtrooms.
Or I'm going to assume they also want to see what evidence you have against our citizen. And if it's not strong enough, then we don't want to cooperate with you, right? I mean, I would assume that's part of it.
Marios Michaelides told the Athens newspaper, the Daily Acropolis, quote, "My wife's family persecutes me because I know a secret that can send them to jail. I'm innocent."
Okay, buddy. They made you take all that shit with you too, right? The silver and the art and all the stolen stuff.
He went on to challenge the Bruce family. Michaelides demanded that the Bruce family take polygraph tests in which they would answer questions, or he insisted if they didn't take a polygraph, they should drink a truth serum.
What is he, a comic book?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what is this, like a Superman story?
Now, in this day and age, they have a very, very well-developed truth serum, cocktail of chemicals.
Well, they can also do the voice stress test.
Well,
which
the
is
voice stress test.
super effective.
They say that's much more, what's the word?
Effective.
I guess we can say effective.
Yeah.
It's much more accurate and effective than the lie detectors.
Now, initially, Evangeline and others scoffed at this notion, and they were like, "We've never once agreed that we would take a polygraph, and this is ridiculous. Why would we do that? Like, what could we possibly add to the conversation?"
Well, they're 12 lawyers.
We're the ones pushing to have this case examined, right? I mean, why would we do that? Guilty of something, why would we try to make this a thing? They were just kind of blindsided and really just looked at Michaelides like, "You're fuckboy." Now, but as time marched on and the chances to get Michaelides to the U.S. dwindled, Evangeline and others agreed that they would submit to a polygraph. Michaelides stated that he would only return to the United States to answer questions about Sasha's death if the trial would be moved out of Charlotte County. So he's got some demands that he wants met before he's willing to come to the U.S. The Bruces had some major influence in Charlotte County. They were beloved and kind of considered like celebrities by the locals.
Well, that's actually a legitimate reason to ask for a change of venue, I must say, even though this guy is an asshole. But that's a legitimate reason, I think, to ask.
Michaelides was certain that he would not get a fair trial in Charlotte County. Marios told the newspaper that he would only return to the U.S. to clear his name as long as those conditions were met, that there was a change of venue, and that the Bruce family would submit to polygraph examination.
You just move it over one county, then the people still know who the Bruces are and all that shit. Just move it over one county so this asshole will come.
The Greek government ultimately decided not to indict Michaelides on the charges from the United States, so he never stood trial for Sasha's murder or the possessions that he looted from the Bruces' castle.
That's messed up because that was proven to be in his possession. So, I mean, I don't understand.
After Sasha's death, her family created the Sasha Bruce Youth Work, which is a foundation dedicated to improving the lives of runaways, homeless, abused, and neglected at-risk youth and their families in the Washington, D.C. area. It is an organization that is still active today. and serves the greater DC area, one of the top like youth organizations in that area.
That's wonderful.
David Bruce died in 1977 and Evangeline passed away in 1995. At some point, Sasha's brother David Jr. opened Staunton Hill as a bed and breakfast, but that didn't last for very long. In 2015, the storied Gothic Revival style home was listed for a cool $5.5 million with its 3-story projecting tower entrance and Gothic arch windows.
Oh my gosh.
Now, it also features crenellated parapet and turrets. But as of now, the home is listed as, quote, permanently closed, though it is a historical landmark. And I don't know if I try to figure out if someone has bought this property or if it's in a trust or if it's sitting abandoned or what the deal is, but I couldn't find a lot of information on the current state of Staunton Hill, Dylan.
Oh my God. If this is this it right here?
Yeah.
Wow.
I will post photos to accompany
Holy
this case.
cow.
You'll be able to find those on Instagram at Appalachian True Crime. And of course, if you are a patron at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast, we often post photos to accompany our various cases. So I will be posting photos of the Staunton Hill Castle.
This place is very wild looking. Honestly, it looks like the mixture of a castle and a plantation home in the South.
It looks
With
kind
the
of like a
porch
mix
and
between a
such.
castle and like a mental hospital.
Yeah.
I think it has a very asylum
Wow.
architecture about it.
I'd live there.
Yeah, I would too.
I just want to float this right now. The proprietors of Mountain Murders would love to take over Staunton Hill. Because actually I am the Count of Sexy. Yeah, we don't really have a country, but we certainly represent a lifestyle. And, yeah.
Dylan's been watching Bridgerton, and so now he is fully engulfed in his role as Western North Carolina High Society.
I'm an importer-exporter of fidget spinners. There's a big, we feel that there's a need for
Fidget
those.
spinners?
Yeah.
See, I feel like
There's
if
a
you
need
were
for
like,
those
look,
all
I'm an
over the country.
import-exporter of like belly button lint, people would probably believe that more so.
What is this, a cartoon? That's not actually a tangible good that can be sold on the free market, Heather.
Well,
For one, how can I make that much if it takes off and gets
let's
popular?
be honest. Who buys a fucking fidget spinner in 2023?
Are you kidding me?
You are a fidget spinner. Okay,
All right.
Dylan, it's time to wrap things up.
All right, I'd like to thank Kim for hosting today's show. Thank you, Kim.
You mean sponsoring today's show?
Why do I keep saying
supporting
that?
Today's show, hosting today's show.
Kim,
Dylan.
How do you keep trying to get host credits, Kim, when you wasn't even in the studio?
I don't blame her.
What the hell is your problem, for real?
Don't blame Kim for your shortcomings.
I would like to thank Kim for sponsoring today's episode, and she is responsible for everything that Dylan said. All right. And you can go to patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast for more fun content. I think I got that backwards.
Thanks for that plug.
It's Mountain Murders Podcast /app patreon.com. What is that, an email?
Just please stop.
Say it. Say the thing. Say the thing, Heather. Let them know.
I've already said it.
All righty. We love you all. We hope you enjoyed this. This was a very interesting
If you
story.
have a case suggestion, something you'd like to hear from us, you can always shoot us an email at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, we will be back on Wednesday with our midweek episode, if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, and we can get Dylan to sit down and stop fidget spinning to record. Okay, Dylan, I hope you have a great week.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.